All right, strap yourselves in, because today we're diving deep into some really wild territory.
Oh, yeah, we're talking Nazi time travelers.
No way.
You heard that right. It's like something straight out of a movie, right? But what's so crazy is this isn't just some fringe theory.
Right.
We've actually got bits and pieces from all sorts of places, like documentaries and interviews with people claiming to have inside knowledge.
What kind of interviews?
We'll get to those. There are even some wind tunnel test results that seem to connect to this whole thing.
Really? Hold on. Wind tunnel tests. This is getting interesting.
It's like a giant puzzle scattered across history and shrouded in mystery.
So where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, our mission today is to sift through all the noise and see what evidence actually holds up.
We're separating fact from fiction. I like it.
Exactly. And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll be able to decide for yourself how much of this wild story you're buying into.
Okay, I'm ready to hear more. Where do we start?
Let's rewind back to World War II.
Well,
Nazi Germany was obsessed with developing what they called Wunderwaffe, wonder weapons, things that could give them an edge in the war. They were pouring resources into all sorts of advanced tech.
so we're talking about cutting-edge technology.
Oh yeah, things that would have seemed like science fiction at the time.
I can't even imagine. So what kind of wonder weapons are we talking about here?
Well, one of the key figures in all this was an SS general named Hans Kammler.
Hans Kammler. Okay.
He was tasked with heading up the development of these advanced weapons. But there's this whole other layer of mystery surrounding him.
What kind of mystery?
Some sources suggest that he was fascinated by ancient knowledge.
Knowledge.
Like really old stuff, like ancient texts and artifacts. He believed these things held the key to incredible power.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about like lost civilizations and hidden secrets and stuff.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that after the war, Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists to the U.S.
Operation Paperclip, right. I've heard about that.
There's this speculation that some of those scientists brought with them some pretty secret knowledge.
Like stuff they discovered while working for the Nazis?
Precisely. Maybe even knowledge gleaned from studying those ancient texts and artifacts.
Whoa, okay. So potentially they could have brought secrets about advanced technology from the distant past?
Exactly. And this leads us to a device that's become central to this whole Nazi time traveler mystery. Die Glocke, or the bell.
The bell.
Yes. According to some accounts, the bell was a device, kind of bell-shaped as the name suggests, potentially powered by something called a mercury vortex engine.
A mercury vortex engine? What in the world is that?
It's pretty complicated, but the basic idea is that mercury would be spun at incredibly high speeds.
Okay.
It would be within a contained system, potentially creating a powerful electromagnetic field. Some theories even suggest it could generate effects we might consider anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity, like how UFOs are often described.
Exactly. So this Bell device, with its crazy engine, is at the heart of all these Nazi time travel theories.
Wow, so this is all sounding pretty out there. What kind of evidence do we even have that this bell actually existed?
That's the thing. A lot of what we know comes from alleged eyewitness accounts and documents that are difficult to verify.
Okay.
But the trail leads us to a place in Poland called the Henge. It's this concrete structure in this super secluded valley with this vast network of tunnels and chambers underground.
The Henge. Sounds mysterious.
It is. Some people even call it Nazi Area 51.
Nazi Area 51. Whoa. Okay, now that is a name that gets the imagination going. What exactly was going on at the Henge?
Well, some believe it was a testing ground for the bell. There are even theories they had to attach these massive chains to the structure.
Chains.
For what? To try and prevent the bell from flying away during tests.
Chains to hold down a time machine. All right, now I need to hear more about this mercury vortex engine.
All right.
How would something like that even work? Break it down for me.
So picture a container shaped like a bell, with a central chamber where mercury is spun really fast. The exact mechanism is unclear, probably based on theories they were exploring back then.
Okay.
The idea is that this spinning mercury could generate a powerful electromagnetic field,
Okay.
potentially even distorting gravity itself. Now, whether that could lead to time travel is a whole other question, but it gives you a sense of the unconventional things they were looking into.
So they were really pushing the boundaries of science. But what about evidence?
Evidence.
Yeah, is there anything concrete to support these claims about the bell and its supposed abilities?
There's no smoking gun, that's for sure. But we do have accounts from former prisoners of war who were forced to work at the henge.
Oh, wow.
They described strange experiments, like the facility was consuming an insane amount of energy.
An insane amount of energy, huh? So whatever they were doing there required a lot of power? What kind of energy would a device like the bell even need?
That's where we get into even more speculative territory.
Okay, hit me.
One theory is that the bell was trying to harness something called vril.
Vril? What is that?
Vril is this concept mentioned in some ancient texts. It's supposed to be this super powerful, almost mystical energy source.
Okay.
Some link it to ideas of life force and psychic abilities, even the potential to manipulate reality itself.
Wow.
And the Nazis were obsessed with harnessing this supposed power. There's even a supposed blueprint labeled Vril number 9 that looks like a bell-shaped device.
Okay, so we've got ancient texts, secret Nazi projects, a potential time machine, and now this mysterious energy source called Vril.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. But are there any examples of actual ancient technology that might have inspired the Nazis?
Well, there are those similarities between the bell and ancient Vimanas.
Vimanas.
They're described in these Hindu texts. They're often depicted as flying machines, almost like chariots of the gods that could defy gravity and were equipped with powerful weapons.
Wait, are you saying the Nazis got inspiration for the bell from ancient Indian texts?
It's possible. These texts describe flying machines, and some believe the Nazis saw this as evidence of advanced technology they could maybe recreate.
So they were looking to the past for clues on how to build their wonder weapons. That's incredible. But how does all of this tie into time travel? Is that even scientifically possible?
That's the question, isn't it? But surprisingly, some aspects of modern physics suggest that time travel might actually be feasible,
Really?
at least in theory. It all comes down to Einstein's theory of relativity and a concept called time dilation.
Einstein, relativity, time dilation. That's some heavy stuff. How could those ideas relate to time travel?
Time dilation is this idea that time isn't a constant. It can be affected by gravity and velocity.
Okay.
Imagine two identical clocks, one here on Earth and one in space. The clock in space will tick slightly slower because it's experiencing weaker gravity. This shows us that gravity can warp time.
So time can be stretched or compressed. That's wild. But how does that relate to the bell and time travel? Did the Nazis understand this?
That's where we have to look at some of the theories about how the bell might have worked. Some believe it was designed to create super strong gravitational fields,
Okay.
potentially even warping space-time itself.
Warping space-time. Are we talking about, a wormhole or a shortcut through time?
It's a deep rabbit hole, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And to really understand how far the Nazis might have gotten with this technology, we need to talk to some experts.
Okay, let's hear from those experts. What do they have to say about this whole Nazi time travel mystery?
One of the most well-known voices on this subject is Stanton Friedman.
Stanton Friedman, I've heard of him.
He was a nuclear physicist and ufologist.
Okay.
He believed that time travel is theoretically possible. And he's even stated that Nazi Germany had the scientific know-how to make significant strides in this area.
So if the Nazis were working on time travel, why didn't they use it to win the war? That seems like it would have been a pretty big advantage.
It's a question a lot of people have asked. One possibility is that they couldn't perfect the technology in time. Or maybe they couldn't control it fully.
I see.
There's even a theory that they were close to a breakthrough, but the U.S. seized the technology at the end of the war.
Oh, wow. So secret Nazi time travel tech in the hands of the U.S. government. Sounds like a conspiracy theory. But is there any evidence to support that?
It's hard to say for sure,
Right.
but don't forget about all those heavily redacted UFO documents that have been released over the years. Some people think they're proof of a government cover-up, hiding evidence of some really advanced tech, potentially even time travel.
Okay, so we've got secret projects, ancient texts, time dilation, and expert opinions. But is there any evidence that a bell-shaped object like Die Glocke could even fly?
Now, this is where things get even more interesting. There was a wind tunnel test overseen by Dr. Bob Frisbee, a retired aerospace engineer. They wanted to see if a bell shape could actually work for flight.
So they built a model of the bell and put it in a wind tunnel.
They did.
What happened?
The results were pretty shocking, actually. The bell shape was twice as aerodynamically efficient as a sphere. So maybe appearances can be deceiving when it comes to flight.
Wow, who would have thought? So a bell shape might actually be ideal for certain types of flight. But how does this connect to the Nazi time traveler theory?
Well, there's this incident that has some pretty striking similarities to Die Glocke.
Okay, what is it?
The Kecksburg incident. Have you heard of it?
Kecksburg incident. Yeah, I've heard whispers. Remind me what happened.
Back on December 9th, 1965, thousands of people saw this fiery object crash in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And get this, eyewitnesses said it was acorn or bell-shaped, with no seams or rivets, like it was made from one piece of material. Some even said it had strange symbols on it.
Hold on. A mysterious object crashes in Pennsylvania. What makes this relevant to our deep dive on Nazi time travelers?
Well, the object's description matches some of the accounts and drawings of Die Glocke.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And get this. Witnesses said that the military secured the crash site and took the object away, refusing to acknowledge anything had happened.
So, a mysterious crash, a potential cover-up, and an object that sounds a lot like the bell. Are you suggesting that what crashed in Kecksburg could have been Die Glocke?
It's definitely a question worth considering.
Yeah.
Could it have been the missing Nazi time machine? Did they succeed? And could this be evidence of alien technology?
All right, my head is officially spinning now. We've got ancient texts, secret projects, theoretical physics, expert opinions, a mysterious crash, and a possible cover-up. I need a moment to process all of this.
It's definitely a lot to unpack, but that's what makes this such a fascinating deep dive.
You're telling me we've explored a lot of ground, but I feel like we're just getting started.
Oh, we've only just scratched the surface of this incredible mystery.
All right, let's keep going.
Let's do it. Welcome back to our deep dive into the mystery of Die Glocke and the possibility of Nazi time travelers.
You know, when we left off, we were talking about the Kecksburg incident and how similar the object that crashed there looked to the bell. It's almost too perfect. Like, is this even real?
It's definitely a connection that gets you thinking, but we have to remember that we're dealing with a lot of speculation and circumstantial evidence. The visual similarities are intriguing, but we can't jump to conclusions.
You're right. Like we said at the start, we have to separate the facts from the fiction. It's just so hard not to get carried away. Where do we go from here? How do we even begin to unravel a story like this?
One way to approach this is to look at the people involved.
Okay.
We've mentioned Hans Kammler, the SS general in charge of Die Glocke. He's a central figure in this whole thing, but his fate is a complete mystery.
Yeah, you mentioned he disappeared. What happened?
There are a lot of different stories, but the most common one is that he either defected to the Soviet Union or was captured and interrogated by U.S. intelligence.
So we don't even know what happened to the guy in charge of the whole project. That's wild.
There are even some people who think he escaped to South America with some other high-ranking Nazis.
Okay, so maybe he's sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere, living out his days with all those Nazi secrets.
It's possible. But what about the other people involved, the scientists and engineers who worked on the bell? Did any of them ever say anything about what they were doing?
Right. Did anyone spill the beans?
That's the frustrating thing. A lot of what we know about Die Glocke is based on secondhand accounts, rumors, and documents that haven't been verified. It's tough to know what's real and what's not.
So we're dealing with a lot of hearsay and speculation. Is there anything solid, anything concrete that points to the bell being real?
That's the challenge with these kinds of mysteries. We might never have definitive proof.
I see.
What we can do is look at the evidence we have, consider the different angles, and try to piece together what makes the most sense.
Okay, let's talk about the evidence. We have those eyewitness accounts from people who said they saw the bell, right?
We do, but those accounts are all over the place in terms of details and how reliable they are.
How so?
Well, some describe a bell-shaped object, but others say it was more like a cylinder.
Okay.
Some mention weird lights and sounds, while others focus on how secret the whole thing was.
So it's a mixed bag. What about physical evidence? Has anyone ever found any pieces of the bell?
Not that we know of.
Really?
If it did exist, it seems to have vanished. Some people think the Nazis destroyed it so their enemies couldn't get their hands on it. Others think it was hidden or even transported to another location.
Another location? Like where?
Well, some even say it was sent to another time.
Okay, now we're back to time travel. But even if the bell could manipulate time, where would they have gone?
That's where we get into pure speculation.
Okay, hit me with those theories.
Some think the Nazis were trying to change the past.
To prevent their defeat.
Exactly. Others say they wanted to set up a base in the future.
A base in the future.
Like a Fourth Reich, beyond the reach of anyone who could stop them.
Wow, that's some next-level stuff. It sounds a bit far-fetched. Did the Nazis ever do anything else that would make you think they were into these kinds of things?
It's a matter of historical record that the Nazis were obsessed with the occult and ancient mysteries.
The occult.
Yeah, like magic and secret societies and all that. They also dabbled in a lot of unconventional sciences. Many of their ideas would seem pretty crazy to us today.
So they were willing to go pretty far out there in their pursuit of power and knowledge.
Absolutely. They thought they were superior to everyone else and were obsessed with having the most advanced technology. They were willing to do whatever it took, no matter the cost.
And that led them down some strange paths, including this whole Die Glocke project and the possibility of time travel.
Exactly.
This is insane. We've got secret projects, generals disappearing, vanishing technology, and time travel theories. It's like something out of a movie.
It's quite a story, that's for sure. But in the middle of all this mystery, it's important to stick to what we know for certain.
Okay, so let's get back to the facts. What do we know for sure about all of this?
We know that Nazi Germany had a very advanced scientific program. They developed some pretty incredible things. We also know they were really interested in ancient knowledge, which may have influenced their research.
And what about Die Glocke? Can we say for sure that it actually existed?
Unfortunately, that's where the evidence gets fuzzy. We have eyewitness accounts, those supposed documents, and the strange disappearance of Hans Kammler, but concrete proof is still missing.
So we're left with more questions than answers.
It is frustrating, but at the same time, it's so intriguing. Like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It makes us look at the evidence and consider all the possibilities, and maybe even question what we thought we knew about history.
You know, when we started this, I thought it would be pure fantasy. But the more we dig into it, the more I realize there's a real historical context here.
Exactly. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises.
No kidding.
Sometimes the line between fact and fiction can be pretty blurry.
Yeah, this whole Die Glocke story is a perfect example of that.
It's a mystery that keeps people coming back for more, trying to figure out what really happened.
I get it. I'm hooked. What else is there to uncover in this story?
Well, in part 3, we'll get into some of the more controversial theories about Die Glocke, including those connections to alien technology and the possibility that it might still be out there.
Welcome back. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into Die Glocke and the possibility of Nazi time travelers. And believe me, things are about to get even crazier.
We've gone through the history, the eyewitness accounts, the science, and even the mysterious disappearance of Hans Kammler, the man behind the project. But now we're stepping into truly uncharted territory.
You're talking about aliens, right?
Exactly. The idea that the Nazis might have gotten their hands on some extraterrestrial tech.
Okay, Nazis and UFOs, this is where I start to question everything. Is there any evidence to back that up?
Well, the evidence is mostly circumstantial, but there are some interesting links. Remember those Vimanas we talked about? The flying machines from Hindu texts?
Yeah.
Some researchers think those ancient stories could be descriptions of alien spacecraft.
Wait, so the Nazis might have been inspired by ancient texts that describe alien technology?
Some researchers believe that. They say the Nazis were fascinated by ancient stuff, looking for proof of advanced civilizations, maybe ones that knew about aliens.
Okay, I'm trying to keep an open mind, but ancient aliens influencing Nazi technology, that's a lot to swallow.
I know, it sounds wild. But remember, we're dealing with a mystery that includes time travel, anti-gravity, and all sorts of advanced stuff. So is alien tech really that far-fetched?
Okay, let's say, just for fun, that the Nazis did have alien tech. What were they trying to do with it?
That's the million-dollar question. There are all sorts of theories out there.
Like what?
Some say they wanted to make a super weapon to destroy their enemies. Others think they wanted to travel to the stars, maybe escape Earth or start a new colony. And then there's the time travel angle.
Yeah, time travel is mind-boggling. But if they had a time machine, where'd they go? Why haven't we seen them messing with the past or future?
That's the paradox, isn't it? If they changed the past, wouldn't we already know? And if they went to the future, why haven't they come back? Or maybe they have. Maybe they're hiding in time, or maybe we're living in the timeline they already changed. It's enough to make your head spin.
Seriously. But even if we forget about the crazy theories, we've still got a fascinating mystery on our hands. Did Die Glocke even exist? What were the Nazis up to? And where did Hans Kammler go with all his secrets?
Those are questions that people are still trying to figure out. We might never have all the answers, but that's part of what makes this story so captivating.
It makes you think, doesn't it? About history and science and just how much we don't know.
It does. It's a reminder that history is full of surprises, and sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.
This whole deep dive has definitely made me rethink a few things. It's been an incredible journey, and I've learned a lot.
It's been a pleasure exploring this mystery with you. Who knows, maybe someday we'll learn the truth about Die Glocke and add another chapter to this amazing story.
Until then, we're left to wonder, and maybe that's part of the fun. Maybe somewhere out there, in the vastness of time and space, Die Glocke lives on. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.